part 11 to how I got unjustly Baker acted and the lessons I've learned from it. Yeah, so the situation with my sister was that she was driving home from school one day, and I could see that my sister had a cut on her neck. And I was like, that's weird. And her excuse was that she fell asleep with a necklace on, like a hemp necklace, because they're like really tight on your neck. And like I did actually believe that. I did believe that. So at this point I had seen cuts on her arms, I had seen a cut on her neck, and she had explained them away basically. And so she was driving me home from school, and at that time me and my sister did not get along. So I actually sat in the back of the car, and my sister would like literally like, we're white people in a white town. She would like blast like Bodak Yellow and like these like super ghetto like, or just like weird, the same songs, weird music. You know, I'm weird about music, right? So I was just like so embarrassed, and she would like smoke cigarettes. My sister's going through so I went through my rebellious phase when I was like 13. She was going through hers when she was like a junior in high school, and I had to literally go to school with that. So I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, like this is like awful that I have to like go to school and like people can see that something's wrong. Because that was like the issues. I was like breaking through the facade that like, you know, our perfect picture, perfect image. And I just like didn't want to have to explain it to people, because like I wasn't acting the way that my sister was, obviously. And so it was just, so I would sit in the back of the car, and she would like like a driver, like an English butler, like driving me everywhere. So we got home from school this particular day, and she pulled into the garage, and I got out because I was pissed off, you know, obviously. I'm like, don't even talk to her or whatever. And I go upstairs, and I hear the garage door close, but I still hear the car on. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I just leave it for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, the car's still on and the garage door is closed. And then that's when it all clicked for me. It was like, cuts, you know, now trying to off herself by carbon monoxide. And also, bitch, me. No offense, I'm sorry, but I was like, ho, I am home. I'm sorry to say that. But I was like, I'm not, you know, like at that point, like I was obviously like schmooze-schmeidel as well, but I was like actually a little bit better at this point because I had been on medication and in therapy for I had quite a long ways on my sister actually. And so I went down to the car and I was like, you need to get out of the car. And I opened the garage door immediately and I was like, I know what you're doing. And she got like all pissed off and she like goes upstairs, she slams the door, all this stuff. My mom gets home from work at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I was like, the reason why I knew this is because my friends had unalived themselves. And I studied the signs of, you know, when people are thinking about that kind of stuff. And I'd watched a lot of, thank God, crime documentaries where I knew about carbon monoxide poisoning, that people, because like honestly I wouldn't even know about that unless I watch crime documentaries, that you can like do that, like you can die from, you know, having the garage door closed and the car on. So the crime documentaries really came in handy there, right? And so I knew that like by telling my parents that she was gonna have to go to a hospital, and I felt horrible. I was like, I don't want to be the one to do that, but I was like, she can't die. And now I like look back on that, this is one of the reflections I had, was like, how selfish of me was it to ask her to keep living in a place that I was dying into? And that's the thing about people who take their lives. It's not a selfish thing at all. It's they just don't want to be in pain anymore. And when you ask people to stay here, you don't quite realize actually like what you're asking them to stay in sometimes. And of course, me and my sister, I know now that it's because we're on a divine path and we always deserve justice. And that was part of it, was like, you cannot let the bastard win, Lindsay. You've got to be better than this. We'll get him back someday. You've got to get through this. That's the reason why we're in this pickle, is because we have two people, mostly my dad, that are severely abusing us. So if you take yourself out, he's going to get sympathy, Lindsay. He's going to get sympathy and he's going to win. we can't let the fucking bastard win. I think that spite is a very beautiful thing sometimes. It has really served me in my life going through trauma. I think there's a beautiful means for spite sometimes, if it means to keep living so you can see your justice play out. And so I always actually had that mindset, even since I was very young. So I've always been very intuitive about this kind of stuff. So they had, they called the insurance, and we had to take her like really far away, because that's what the insurance would cover. So we had to drive like, I don't know if I went that day. I don't think I did. Or I think they took her to the emergency room and then they admitted her, a different way. And so, I knew that I was betraying my sister by telling my mom. And so my mom came home, I told her, and they took her that night. And, that was a very sobering experience. But, of course, my parents came home and were like, thank God you were paying attention, like all this stuff. But they knew that I'd like lost my friends to that earlier, just a few years prior. So that's why this was, self-unaliving has been a huge theme throughout my life. And it's one of the shadows that I am like pretty expert on, because I've been around it so much. I've experienced a lot of people who have had this situation. I've experienced loss from it. I've also had it myself. So it is like kind of one of my expertises, I would say. And it's also something that I have been able to rewire and overcome now, which is, again, the most beautiful gift that God has given me. Out of all the gifts he's given me, all the psychic downloads, all this stuff, the most beautiful thing he's given me is the ability to give people their minds back, and that give them hope that if they do rewire, they can overcome these types of thoughts, which I actually never thought possible. And like I said, they still come up, but it's much fewer and far between, and it's much less intense, and I'm in a much more observatory state with it when it does occur, so I know what to do now when it occurs. I just sit down and I let myself move through it, and, I talk myself through it. I'm kind to myself. I remind myself that these are lies, and that, those types of things. And so, I know a lot of people obviously struggle with this too, and so, my sister is doing much better now. I don't think she even has ideation anymore, because she has a dog that has very much grounded her into this reality. She loves animals, and that's been so helpful. But he's getting old now, and so I'm like, I have to go to work so I can just get my sister a dog if he ever passes away, because it's been her saving grace so many times now. And so, but she didn't get a dog till she's like in her late 20s. So up until then, it was very touchy. But she's on medications now, and she's in talk therapy, and she finds it extremely helpful and all those kinds of things. So it ended up working out. But then after that, when she first went to the hospital, she was in and out of hospitals like for 7 more years, all throughout college. She was in and out of them. And it was hard to watch her go through what she had to go through. She's much more expressive with her pain, and it distressed my parents deeply. And so I learned not to do that. And I think that's part of the reason why I have an autoimmune disorder and she doesn't, to be completely honest with you, because I'm realizing that was somatic therapy, screaming, yelling, crying, releasing, even like that type of stuff actually like helps your body. That's why I'm so don't get me wrong, do not self-harm. But I'm saying, if you have, the reason why you were doing that was also not just to avoid your pain, but it actually was a means of release in a way for your body to get that out. So you did not store that in you, where I didn't. I never got it out. Like, I never like went and screamed or anything like that. I kept everything in, and then I was also doing derugs. So that was also like a self-harm. That was my way of self-harm, was through being addicted to like downers, benzos, and pain stuff, and Zolpidem, which is Ambien, and all sorts of stuff to black me out. That was or get me as out of mind as possible as well. So people do it through self-harm. I did it through drugs. Everybody does it through something. My mom does it through alcohol. I have to go into the next part.